All right, can you hear me, Terrell? You did not connect to audio.
Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Huh? Let's take that to 16 by 514. Can you go ahead and get hold of GSP, see if they can remove it, please? Thank you. Oh, Lordy be. Hello?
All right, Rob, can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Can anybody hear me?
I can.
What's
But I
going
can't
on
see
here? Can anybody hear me?
I can.
Yes.
I can hear you, John. Can you
As
hear me?
can I. I can.
All right. Did you guys hear that that video too?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. All right. So to recap what we just talked about, we talked about buoyancy. I'm only saying this again because we're getting recorded now and it was a key concept. All right. So there's my container. I'm going to take the top off my container. Is that an eraser? Yeah, that's an eraser. Oh. All right. So there's my top, my container. Okay. And then I have my eraser. I wonder if it's going to let me just do the top. No, it won't. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so there's my container with something underneath it. And if I fill it with a liquid to the top so that the viscous is just over top of it, that's really bad drawing, but I'm going to do it anyway. Right, and then I have a scale that's this container is resting on, and I drop a ball inside this water and collect the water inside this container, and then the scale reads out how much that water weighs. We'll say that the water weighs 20 grams. 20 grams. Okay. If the ball weight or a mass, in this case, be the mass of the ball or the weight, we're on planet Earth, so they're the same thing. Okay. If the weight of the ball, oh man, I missed my pen, equaled 10 grams, the weight of the ball equals 20 grams, and the weight of the ball equaled 30 grams, right? So in this case, it would be greater than the weight of the water, equal to the weight of the water, and it would be less than the weight of the water, less than the weight of the water. So therefore, and therefore, that's a bad one. Therefore, so what do we conclude here? Rob, what do we conclude on this one? This is the easy one. The ball would be float, sink, or neutral. Neutral.
So,
Yeah.
Yep.
And then what would we do for this one? The ball would be negatively buoyant. It would sink. And here, the ball would be positively buoyant. It would float. Because if the weight of the object is less than the weight of the water it displaces, the ball will float. And conversely, if the weight of the object is more than the weight of the water it displaces, the object will sink. And then we had a pretty cool like unit conversion thing. where we said, all right, you know, 1 cubic foot of water. You know, we had 1 gallon was, what was it? It was 7.5 gallons. Right. We did 7.5 gallons. And we know that 1 gallon was approximately 8 pounds. You know, these are pretty commonly known. I had to Google this one. This one I know from Navying and stuff. These are pretty common. Now we could figure it with some pretty simple unit analysis, right? We can go 1. We're trying to figure out, you know, pounds per cubic foot, right? Is that what we're trying to figure out? Yep. Is that what we're trying to figure out?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Trying to figure out pounds per cubic foot of air, right? So that's the units we're trying to figure out. So we need to just make sure that we put the things in the right area, right? So we got to start with let's see, we want 1 cubic foot is 7.5. Let's get rid of this so it's not confusing. Oh, we want this. Is this the eraser? Yeah. This 7.5 gallons, and then we'll do 1 gallon is 8 pounds. 8 pounds. Get rid of this, not to confuse people again. We don't want. Oh, come on. All right, whatever. That works. All right, so if we look at some unit analysis here, we'll see that we'll be left with pounds per cubic feet. So we have 7.5 times 8, and that was, what we say, 60 something. Rob, what'd you come up with when you did the math?
60.
60 pounds per cubic feet. And there's a save button on this somewhere, but I don't remember where it was. So why is that valuable? And we discussed why that was valuable, because if you have a BCD with, you know, so many pounds of lift, right? That's usually what they come in. You can figure out, if you know how much, what a BCD where you're wearing, or sorry, what cylinder you're wearing, and you know the working pressure of that cylinder, you can figure out how much PSI it's going to take to completely fill that BCD. So for instance, let's do a real quick problem. You're using a standard aluminum 80, right? So you have 3,000 PSI, pounds in the PSI for 80 cubic feet, right? And we'll say that your BCD has, I don't know, 50 pounds of lift. 50 PSI for a few cubic feet per fill, or per fill. Oh, sorry. That's not right. The wrong unit. Wrong unit. Units matter. As a 50 pounds of lift of pounds per cubic foot, or 50 pounds of lift. Sorry about that. 50 pounds of lift. All right, so now we have 80 cubic foot. Now what do we need still? We need to get rid of cubic feet. And what was I working on? 80 cubic feet. I haven't done this ever before, so give me a second to think about it. So we're trying to figure out how much PSI it would take to fill up one 50-pound lift, or 150 pounds. Oh yeah, here we go. 50 pounds per push. Okay. Yep. So 150 pounds per fill. There we go. That's the one thing I was missing here. How do can I move this over? No, can't. To squeeze it somewhere. Can I move the thingy? Grab and drop that. I don't know if I have enough room. Okay, well, I'll try to. Can you see anywhere where I can grab and move this over? Up and down. Oh, hold on. No, I think I can do. I can move it over here. I think bigger. There we go. Yeah, I did like that. I had it on my skinny screen. Now I got all sorts of room. Okay. Now I can just extend this a little bit more and use my unit conversion over here. 60 pounds of lift for water, of my displacement for water. So it's 60 pounds per cubic foot. That's not going to work because I have this wrong. I need to invert this. I believe. So it's 50 pounds. Yeah, 50 pounds of lift, right? Per fill. Okay. And then now this should work out. And now we can put the 60 pounds. 60 pounds per cubic foot. So I didn't know any equations for that. I just used unit analysis. And now I got cross out my cubic feet, my pounds. Now I just have PSI per fill. All right, so now I can do some math. Let me bring up a calculator real quick. And I go 3,000 times 550 equals divided by 80 equals divided by 60 equals, that's 31. Where'd it go? 31.25 PSI per fill. So if I wanted to completely fill my BCD from my cylinder, it would take 31.25 pounds. That makes sense. Like that number makes sense. sorry that took so long. I had to think it through, but that does two things for you. It shows the power of unit analysis in a lot of these questions and just thinking it through, especially if you know a lot of these thumb rules. So any questions on that?
Nope. So
No.
something that I read back in Suda Bay that kind of pertains to all of this was, it was like a lawsuit going on about a female who, like, long story short, dive shop gave her a dry suit
Oh,
without
yeah.
an inflator,
Oh, yeah.
and she ended up getting in the water with the dry suit on, and it basically saran wrapped her.
Yep.
But the problem was they had so much weight on her that her BCD was not even capable of lifting her.
I've seen that happen before.
So
go ahead.
that's where I relate all of this, is the lift of the BCD compared to the weight that the person, like the buoyancy of the person plus the weight that they have, like that's where all of this seems to be really like super important, you know.
One of the most common things, especially with new divers that are trained with new instructors, or is overweighting. It's really easy for new instructors to fall into the habit of overweighting students because it's so much easier just to deal with students who are planted on the bottom to work through all the skills, and then just offer a peak performance buoyancy class later to fix the buoyancy, right? I have found that if you spend the extra 30 minutes early on in the class, I do it almost immediately, like either before regulator clearing or after regulator clearing. It kind of depends on how comfortable they
John,
are.
I did tell you that that was the perfect part for that class. That was perfect.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, I did the pass the weight thing with Terrell. I did that with you too, Rob, right? Yeah, so the pass the weight exercise, I mean, once I figured out that was a key part, and once I figured buoyancy out early, and that's the way it is, and they never like experience heavy diving, then it's easy. Like, and buoyancy control becomes natural to them, and it's just a thing, right? And they don't know that being heavy is a thing. So I've seen two things that stories I just want to share. One's old and one's new. The old one is I was in West Palm Beach and we were diving. This must have been 2006 or so. I was diving with some friends. I was dive master off of a company from there, and woman blew up her BCD and did a giant stride. It's all drift diving there, and I was in the water, and I was like halfway down, and I just see her, that mud dart, shoot down to the bottom, and she didn't look like she was comfortable, and she ended up standing on the bottom during this drift dive, and then a dive master, an instructor or guide or something went down right after her, and I just kind of looked over, and I could tell she had one of them, vest style BCDs, and I could tell it was fully inflated, and she was standing on the bottom of the fully inflated BCD, and she must have had 50 pounds on her in salt water with a wetsuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't believe that anybody would weigh her down that much. Well, 2 weekends ago, we went to a dive, checkout dive site, met a student, commercial diver. I was doing open water checkout dives, and he was there by himself, and he wanted to know if he could, dive with us. And I was like, yeah, how many dives do you have? He's like, oh, about 50 dives. And I was like, okay, yeah, sure, tag along with me and be your buddy. And we got down, and it had been raining and thundering, so we had to wait for the dive site to kind of open the gate back up so we could go diving. And while we were sitting there talking, I noticed that like his pouches were for his integrated weights were kind of bulgy, and he was wearing a shorty, like a thin shorty. And I was like, how much weight you diving with? And he said and he was a skinny dude, like he must have been 110 pounds soaking wet, you know. And he was like, oh, I got 16 pounds on in freshwater. And I was like, really? And I was like, that's interesting. And I was wearing a dry suit with a steel 100 on, and I think I had 8 pounds on. And I shared that with him, and he was like, how do you do that? And I was like, well, and he had a steel on as well. And I was like, it's just all I need, you know. And I was asking my students, they were on dive number 3. Oh, I'm sorry, that was their 4th dive. And I was like, how much weight do you guys wear? And they're like, they had 3 mils on and aluminum 80s. And they're like, I have 2 pounds on, and I had 4 pounds on. And he just didn't understand how that was possible. And then as soon as we got in the water, he assumed the seahorse position, and he would just kick to stop him from sinking. And as soon as he stopped kicking, he would sink. You know, he was using propulsion to stay up, right? Just like those are the things that you will see when divers are overweighted. And he burnt through his air. He was done in 15 minutes, right? And my divers were down for 45, you know. So this is a testament of how like important it is to understand how much a pound makes a difference in trim, in air consumption, and all those things, right? That's why we're trying to go through, you know, the details like this in your dive master class, so that you understand. I mean, the number one question a good trained new diver is going to be asking is, how much weight do I need? And a good answer to that is, well, how much weight did you need at this situation? And you're like, well, I don't know. And you should say, what's your logbook say? And if they were instructed well, then they should be able to, oh yeah, let me go check my logbook. And their logbook should indicate what type of water they were diving in, what exposure protection they had on. And generally I tell them they should know what their baseline weight is, and that is if they're diving with no exposure protection on in a pool that's fresh water, how much weight they need to wear and have no air or a little, like 500 pounds left in their cylinder, with no air in their BCD, and have half a breath of air in their lungs and be neutrally buoyant. That's how much weight they need to have. So at the beginning of your dive, you're going to be a little heavy. So your buoyancy compensation device, you'll have half a breath of air in your buoyancy compensation device to compensate for that. And then from there, you just add weight. If you're going to go to a 3 mil, you normally have to add 4 to 6 pounds. If you're going to go to a saltwater, you're going to add 4 to 6 pounds. It all depends on the diver's physiology and his lung capacity, on what that is. So, and then making them understand that there's a major difference between the tidal volume of your lungs and the normal breathing range of your lungs, and allowing them to understand that they can utilize the tidal volume of their lungs to control depth automatically, and not have to rely on their buoyancy compensation device so much, and the bubble in the buoyancy compensation device to manage their buoyancy. So that was a nice tangent there, Rob. Thanks for sending us down that rabbit hole. That's that. All right, so let's get on the whiteboard for a little bit. Hope this saves automatically. I don't know if it does or not. This is a really good one. Either way, it's on the recording, so I can take a screenshot of it if I need to. Maybe I can zoom out. Yeah, screenshot, print screen, perfect. So I got it on my things if I need to. All right, now I think I gotta share screen, and I'm going to close whiteboard. Do you want to continue? Yes. Now I want to share this screen. Which one is this one? Share. And now you can see Archimedes principle.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So that's Archimedes principle. One more thing, to kind of note about Archimedes principle. Oh no, that's Buoyancy's law. That's Boyle's law. We'll talk about that later. Okay. We'll talk about that more. This is more. Yeah, we talked about this a little. Yeah, and we talked about that too. Yeah, we talked about that as well. Hey, it has it in here. I didn't have to Google it. It's right here. Look at that. Maybe I should know my touch. 64 pounds. Fresh water weighs less than salt water does. Imagine that. Salt it weighs more than water does. How would you know? All right, so we did this a little longer than we needed to, but let's not use the communist system, let's use the imperial system. So if you want to figure out the buoyancy of an object, right, how much weight is left over of the object, you just take the weight of the object, right, and then minus the how much water is displaced by the object in cubic feet, and then multiply it by the pound per cubic feet of water. So this area in parentheses, just use unit analysis with those two variables to make sure you have weight as the remaining unit, and then you just take the weight of the object. We did that on that large whiteboard earlier, just kind of in a more complex way. Using unit analysis, you have to figure out what weight is left over, or what weight is remaining, if you know what I mean, right? So if the buoyancy is negative, then the object's going to sink. If the buoyancy is positive, then the object will float. Right? Make sense? Okay. Terrell, you got that?
Yep.
All right. And then if you're so achieving neutral buoyancy, okay, let's not use the communist, I should just take those out. Okay. Cubic feet required is the pounds of negative buoyancy divided by the pounds of cubic feet of water, is the cubic feet required of air. Right. So you're trying to make it equal to each other. So why would you need this? Why would you need to know how much air, and then convert it to pressure, right? Which we showed you how to do. Why would you need to know how much air, cubic feet of air, you would need to make an object neutrally buoyant?
So as we spoke before, it's just so you don't sink to the bottom. I can't hear if Rob is talking.
Okay.
No, I was muted.
Oh, there you are. Oh, okay, never mind. I'm sorry.
So here's a scenario. You're a dive master, and you're a working dive master. It's already been 40 minutes? Holy cow. All right, I got a homework assignment for you. And here it is, if you guys want to write it down. Or I'll send the video for you. Or how about I go over to, I have 10 minutes to write it down, so I'll start on our whiteboard. Let's see, whiteboard.
Okay.
Whiteboard. How do I go back to this? Oh, stop share. Okay, there we go. And I go whiteboard. New whiteboard. Oh, it saved it automatically. All right. So I am hired by a boat owner. And this boat owner, he dropped a outboard motor. Oh wait, this thing has things. Okay. He dropped an outboard this thing bigger. 48. Outboard. Make it big. Come on. All right. Bigger. I'll make this. Come on. Okay, that. Here we go. There we go. Drop. No, and make it bigger still. Okay, there we go. Outboard motor. That he wants you to recover. Okay. It weighs 170 pounds. Okay. Heavy motor. All right. You look at the tech manual for this thing, and you notice that the entire motor, it's a really good tech manual, and it displaces 422 cubic inches. No, that's not right. Let me get a good realistic number. Oh, y'all are so stupid. Displaces 7,528 cubic inches. Okay. The depth. That's not fair yet. We haven't done Boyle's Law yet. So yeah, the depth is 20 feet. I want to know how big of a lift bag do you need?
Did you say how many?
How big of a lift bag?
Oh, how big?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 2, be safe. You're bringing down an extra cylinder to fill it, this lift bag. What size cylinder? What's the minimum not size cylinder? What is the minimum size cylinder you need to bring down? If you bring down a spare additional one to fill the lift bag. So you're not too concerned about the amount of time it takes to fill the cylinder, to rig it up. that's gonna be a little bit more of an advanced question after we do Boyle's Law and stuff like that. You have any questions about your question?
Yeah, what you're gonna have to do for me is you're gonna have to take a picture of your screen and send it to me because I'm only looking at like half of this. Some of it's cut off.
All right, it's there's stuff spelt wrong, so but that's okay. It's on the group chat.
Okay, works for me. That's cool.
All right, that's all I have. We'll go over that homework next class.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So just looking online as you were talking about that. So online it says 100 liter or a 3.5 cubic foot bag can lift 220 pounds of underwater like object. Is that
What is
like
the minimum size lift bag you will need?
Yeah, so like, I mean, like that bag, for instance, would be fine without even worrying about displacement and all that kind of stuff, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna do the calculations and stuff, but I'm just kind of curious because I know like we were lifting like 500-pound tires in Gross Lake with tiny lift bags. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't take
Yeah.
very much,
well, it
and those
depends on
tires
depends
were
on
heavy.
depends on the displacement of the object too.
Yeah, yeah,
Like lifting a 500-pound anvil is going to be different than lifting a 500-pound tire.
yeah. You're right. You're right. So that is where the displacement comes in.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
this is just Wikipedia saying like, hey, this is like this bag will lift this weight, but it doesn't really take any of the rest of that into consideration.
Right.
Sweet.
And I'll do show you.
Northbound is one.
There too. That's better. And then I'll go ahead and snap that there. And put that on there too. Okay. There's it's shared again. Does that answer questions?
Yep.
Awesome. That's been that's 2 hours, so that's pretty good. We'll try to do it tomorrow if you guys want.
I'm clear tomorrow.
What's that?
I'm clear tomorrow.
Okay, Rob, if you want to do it tomorrow, we can do it tomorrow too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have to see tomorrow. Tomorrow's gonna be a beast of a day at work.
Okay. Yeah.
I may just want to drink.
Fair enough. You can drink while you take this course. I don't care.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
You're right.
one of the best things about this course.
Hey, don't worry about it, Rob. I have.
Yeah.
I know. I watched. All right. You guys
All
take
right,
care.
man.
All right,
Hey, you
bye-bye.
too.
Take it easy. I don't know how to close that. Okay, wait, maybe this will work.